like to welcome everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your day to attend this event. You're going to hear from several speakers today, and at the end we'll be cutting the ribbon. For those of you that I haven't met, my name is Bruce Fraley, Mayor of the City of Berea, and we're very proud to have the ribbon cutting here in Berea. We're happy for Berea, but we're also happy for all the communities that are along the bike route. This is a national bike route from Atlanta, Georgia to Cleveland, Ohio, and through a lot of teamwork. That's the one thing I want to emphasize is the teamwork that went into having this particular section of the US 21 bike route very closely follow Boone Trace Trail. Data from Berea College and from Dr. Peter Hackbert, vision from Dr. Fox, support and cooperation from the Transportation Cabinet. Reagan Taylor with the county judge was the fiscal agent for placing signage. The City of Berea's Tourism Department and the City of Berea City Council supporting these kind of projects are what can really help bring tourists to town along the trail, but also provide health benefits. That's one thing that Dr. Fox, when I first met him about 5 years ago, he was just as interested about the health aspects of getting people out and about, discovering Boone Trace, whether you're hiking or biking. That was just as important to him as the preservation part. But I also want to take just a few minutes to give a lot of credit to Dr. John Fox. As most of you know, Dr. Fox is a retired surgeon from Lexington. And Dr. Fox could have done anything he wanted to do in retirement, and I tell this story often. He chose to preserve, mark, and gain access to Boone Trace. History has taught us that if someone doesn't take extraordinary efforts, sometimes history can be lost. And through his efforts, we now have a good part of the original Boone Trace that you can actually walk on. Just 1/3 of the mile to the south, we had a grand opening for a segment of Boone Trace Trail along the south side of Brushy Fork Trail. And you can actually walk in the footsteps of Daniel Boone, all 3/4 miles of that. And you can also ride on it now with the US 21 bike route, so we appreciate all the effort that went into that to make sure that we preserve that history of Daniel Boone and the original settlers in Kentucky. The other thing that I want to mention is that I think as we go forward, we need to have celebrations like this, but we really need to think more regionally in terms of our tourism and how we get people out to see these trails. Not only do we want people to come, Kentuckians or people from out of state, to come to Berea to be on Boone Trace, to ride on it or to walk on it, but also in the entire region, from Middlesboro to Maysville. There are so many neat communities and so many ways that we can actually live history and find out about those who came before us and the importance of that, not just for the Commonwealth of Kentucky, but also for the United States of America, because Kentucky and where we are now and Boone Trace was the original frontier. Let's not forget that in 1775. The other thing that I'll tell you is Boone Trace Trail runs on Boone Street, appropriately named, way before us, right here. It intersects with the US 76 bike route at Chestnut Street. So truly, Berea, with the US 21 bike route from north to south and the US 76 bike route from east to west, we have become the bicycle crossroads of Kentucky, if not the bicycle crossroads of America. Again, a lot of effort and a lot of teamwork went into making this happen. Dr. Fox will be the first one to tell you that not one person can do this. It takes a collaborative team effort, and I compliment everyone involved in getting to where we are today, where we're having a grand opening for the US 21 bike route and the Boone Trace bike trail. With that, I do want to credit the Transportation Cabinet. They've always been very supportive, and I have a distinct pleasure of introducing to you our Transportation Secretary, Mr. Jim Gray. I asked Jim if there's anything in particular he wanted me to do. When I introduced him, he said, just tell everybody I'm all for it. So we appreciate Secretary Gray being here, but also being for projects like this that provide transportation alternatives while preserving our history. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce to you our Transportation Secretary, Mr. Jim Gray. Jim?
Thanks so much, Mayor. I appreciate it, and you did just exactly what I asked you to do. Say I'm a big advocate for bicycling, for pedestrians, and I'm glad to see that Keith Lovin, where's Keith? Keith, right behind me. Oh, okay, Keith, our bike and pedestrian coordinator and director for the Transportation Cabinet. And Keith worked with me when I was mayor of Lexington for a few years, and I give him all the credit in the world for 22 miles of bicycle and pedestrian trails through and around Lexington. We're actually connecting now those 22 miles through the downtown of Lexington. But I want to dial back. I've got a few remarks here I want to share on behalf of Governor Beshear, but I want to dial back, President Roelofs, to about 25 years ago when I was on the Berea College Board. And we were widening 595, which of course went by almost entirely by Berea's farm. And that widening project, I was asked by then President Larry Shin to call one of my predecessors in this job. His name was Jim Codell. He asked me to call Transportation Secretary Jim Codell and ask about possibility of a bicycle and pedestrian trail along that several miles. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken on this, I know, because Jimmy Codell told me that that was the first bike and pedestrian trail that the Transportation Cabinet managed to pull together and execute in the whole state of Kentucky, right here in Berea. So there's not a better spot to have this dedication than right here in Berea. So Mayor Fraley, I want to thank you for the introduction. Also want to recognize Kim Tompkins. Is Kim here from the cabinet? Kim, right here in front of me. Well, you had your sunglasses on and I couldn't tell, but you're right there. Kim is the project manager for the Transportation Cabinet's role in this project. Now, as the mayor has already said, that funding for this wayfinding signage project was provided by the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. And that's because we recognize the importance of bicycling and our U.S. bicycle routes especially. At the Transportation Cabinet today, we have someone that's passionate about that bicycling, and I have already introduced him, and that is Keith Lovin. It's an exciting time for bicycling in Kentucky. Just last week, there was a conference of Kentuckians right here again, bicyclists right here in Berea. It was the annual conference of Kentuckians who advocate for bicycling and pedestrians in Kentucky. The addition of U.S. Bicycle Route 21 to the national network will only add to Kentucky's already considerable appeal for bicycle tourism and for transportation alternatives, as the mayor said. Just look around at the incredible landscape here. Every year, hundreds of miles of trail attract bicycling enthusiasts from all over the country. Entire families take vacations in our Commonwealth. Mountain biking is growing in popularity as well. That was one of the topics at the Kentucky Bicycle and Bikeway Commission meeting right here last week that I just mentioned in Berea. Our bike routes and bike trails are an asset to the entire Commonwealth, and U.S. Bicycle Route 21 is one of 3 national bike routes in Kentucky. The others are U.S. Bike Route 23 from the Tennessee border in Simpson County northward into Kentucky's Cave region. U.S. Bike Route 76, the Trans-America Bike Route from the Ohio River in Crittenden to the Virginia border near Elkhorn City in Pike County. U.S. Route 21 will eventually stretch from Atlanta to Cleveland, as the mayor already shared with us. So Kentucky's part of this route closely follows. Again, the mayor's ahead of me on this. All I'm doing is being redundant right now. But it follows closely the path taken by Daniel Boone when he came to central Kentucky, running from the Cumberland Gap north through Bourbon and Horse Country to the Ohio River at Maysville. Altogether, Kentucky can now boast of 856 total miles of national bike routes. And in addition, communities across Kentucky offer 307 miles of local bike trails and 284 miles of multi-use paths. 30 Kentucky cities have active bike and ped planning. That's a big deal, as do 22 counties and 8 area development districts and metropolitan planning organizations. So there is progress. That's what we're recognizing as much as anything today. We are making steps and even better steps forward. This is a recognition of what bicycling and biped trails add to local quality of life, both in terms of health and as alternative forms of transportation. We just want to say it's great to be with you all today. The mayor's done an excellent job of introducing Dr. John Fox of the Friends of Boone Trace. I get to have the special honor of now turning this microphone over to the fella who has been so instrumental in getting this done. Dr. Fox.
Ladies and gentlemen and others, in 1775, Daniel Boone opened Boone Trace, which was the first road or trail ever into the land that was to become Kentucky. Little did he know the impact that that little road would have on not only the founding of Kentucky, but the opening of the West. It began what's known as the Westward Movement, which was along with the Declaration of Independence in 1776, was the time that people stopped being British citizens and became Americans. So it's, Boone Trace is really important. But today we're here to dedicate a national bike route. It's called Route 21. It'll connect, as you've heard, Atlanta to Cleveland, Ohio, if you want to ride your bike there. We just completed the Kentucky portion last week. It enters at the Cumberland Gap at Middlesboro, traverses 10 Kentucky counties, and exits out of Maysville. And the Boone Trace is just in the lower 5 counties, but the story goes on, and the trail goes on, the bike route. Daniel Boone actually lived in Maysville for a time, and so the entire route is going to be known as the Daniel Boone Bike Route 21, Daniel Boone Bike Route 21. About 5 to 6 years ago, we had designed a bicycle route just for the Boone Trace. Dr. Peter Hackbert was involved in that, as well as Stephen Berea of Clark County, and they contributed greatly to that. Now, the national bike routes are created by, it's a group out in Montana called the Adventure Cycling Association, and they work with the transportation cabinets all over the country to come up with these national bike routes. When they found out about our Boone Trace bicycle route, they agreed to incorporate it into the proposed 21. They were actually pretty excited about doing that because it makes it a feature of their 21 that they could promote. And of course, we were pretty happy. The Route 21, which is north to south, crisscrosses with the Transamerica Bike Route 76 right here in Berea. And it goes coast to coast. So there's real symbolism in having the 21 and the 76 meet here in Berea, where the mountains meet the inner bluegrass. Dr. Roelofs will speak a bit about that in a minute. This has been a 4 to 5 year project, and the very last sign was installed Thursday a week ago, out of a total of 347 signs. I personally have gotten a lot of attention for my part in this project, but I was really just a collector and a communicator. I just had to make a few phone calls in the range of about 1 million and check to make sure the project was kind of still in progressing through the fiscal courts and city councils and so forth. That's pretty ignorant. I was a physician surgeon, so what do I know? But I could not have done it without the help of some people I want to recognize. Number one is Troy Hearn. He was the initial bike ped coordinator who got it all started, and he passed over to Daniel Walker and Keith Logan. I want to recognize especially Judge Executive Reagan Taylor from Madison County, who agreed to be the fiscal agent for the entire project. Out of 10 different counties, he was the one that agreed to do it. Also, Shaw Evans, owner and operator of the S&L company, he was contracted to put in for the installation of all of those signs for the entire project. It was a very complicated thing. Lastly, I want to recognize a special lady, Kim Tompkins of the Transportation Cabinet, who during COVID, especially when the project totally stalled, stepped in to make it go. She would say she was just doing her job, but trust me, without going into too many details, this project never would have happened had it been not for her. So this is a really happy day for me, and I'd like to now turn the podium over to my hero, Judge Reagan Taylor.
Thank you, Dr. Fox. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you all today. If you haven't gotten to know Dr. Fox, I would encourage you to get to know this man. You learn really quick that you don't tell him no. You do not tell him no, but he has such a kind heart, and he does things because it's the right thing to do, and it's because he's passionate. And if we as society lived like that man lives, we'd be in a lot better place. Wonderful man. Madison County has a proud past and a promising future, and I'm so proud to have people like him in not just Madison County, but in our Commonwealth that preserve our past, that pull it out and make our communities more aware. I think back of where Mayor Fraley was talking about Brushy Fork Creek and the trail that we preserved. When I was in high school, I ran that in cross country. That was our cross country route. And how cool would it have been for me in cross country to have known that I was actually running and walking where Daniel Boone ran then, right? It took me 30 years out of high school to really learn that. And so I'm very proud of our past, and I'm proud of men like this, Mayor Fraley, that is putting a vision into preserving that past and that history. Our future is very promising because of leadership like Secretary Gray, Kim Tompkins, Troy Hearn, Shaw, all these elected officials of these other 10 counties where we all came together to be unified in preserving this and just preserving that history for future generations. What it's going to do to our tourism. I know some of our Berea tourism folks are here. What it's going to do to bring money into our community, not locally here just in Berea, but our other counties along the way. So these are the things as an elected official that you're so grateful to be a part of. We get a lot of scars on our backs a lot of times, but right here makes it worth it because it just shows that it's not about party lines. It's about doing things for our citizens and really just bringing better quality of life for our future. So God bless. Thank you all very much for what you've done. And I'm going to turn it over to our president of Berea College, Lyle Roelofs.
Thanks for that great welcome, Judge Taylor. And my welcome as well to all of you. I'm so proud to be able to represent Berea College at this wonderful event. And I'll just share with you that I was put in charge of the weather today. And I think I did good here. As a college president, you learn quickly to take credit for the good things that you aren't actually responsible for and try to avoid blame for the bad things that you are responsible for. Secretary Gray, it's great to have you back in Berea. You're always welcome here, and I didn't know that you were pivotal in creating the BB White Bike Trail. It's one of my favorite running routes, and where Berea College students, faculty, and staff run with me 2 mornings a week. So thank you very much. Mayor Fraley, thanks for all the opportunities for partnership between the city and the college. What a lot of worthwhile developments you have supported. And what can I say about Dr. Fox? His efforts in support of the history of Boone Trace and the Wilderness Road have been so welcome and productive. All I can say is that I hope there's a Dr. Fox in every state. Make a huge difference for our country. We at Berea College were so pleased when the Transportation Cabinet agreed to hold this dedication in our town. There are many other worthwhile and deserving communities along the path of this new bicycle route, 21. But that choice seems so right to us because it is here in this town and at this very intersection where 2 of the longest bicycle routes in the country cross. We think that's symbolic of Berea as a meeting point, a point where east meets west, north meets south, and the mountains meet the bluegrass. This very much reflects also the college's history as a meeting point. Not only are there those geographical meetings here, but the college is also the place where black and white students first studied together in our state. And this statue right here is of our founder, Reverend John G. Fee, and you see black and white children in that statue as well. It's also one of the first places in the South where men and women studied together. Dr. Fee, or Reverend Fee's school ranged from kindergarten through college at that time. So to me, it is altogether fitting that this point becomes the crossroads of bicycling in Kentucky. I'm also proud to say that Berea College students and faculty were able to play an important role in this project, and that cyclists from across Kentucky and the United States can now travel through this important meeting point, encounter the history and beauty of Kentucky, and pass through the Berea College campus. So thanks very much for your attention, and now I'm supposed to direct you all to the road where we will cut the ribbon. You can pass through that passageway and we will meet at the road.
Give us the countdown.
Sarah will do it. Sarah, you want to give us a countdown? Y'all ready? We got to do a photo op first.
Wait a minute.
Photo op first. 1, 2, 3, cut. All right, here comes the cyclist.
As always, we hope you found this content useful. If you did, please like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks.